Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought, of course, that I would talk about this video and this subject that I found to be very particularly interesting. And this is once again going to be a topic over the Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis situation, which, of course, a lot of people are going to be talking about as of recent because Devin Haney, I believe, of course, his next fight is going to be the mega fight. At least, well, we'll see how well the sales do. But anyways, Devin Haney, of course, is going to have his big fight next week, I believe, on April 20th, against that of Mr. King Ryan Garcia, or Ryan King Garcia, however he pronounces it. But anyways, Devin Haney is going to be fighting next week, and of course, Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis, they've been two of the young African American fighters, two of the young black fighters, and two of the better fighters within the 130 to 140 pound range. You know, two of the better fighters overall, pretty much within that range. And a lot of people are wondering, when are these two guys going to fight? And of course, a lot of people are also wondering about who is debatably the better boxer, who is the better all-around skilled fighter, or who is the greater one, who deserves to be higher on the pound-per-pound list. And I think that is a very interesting conversation. I think that both of them are great talents. I think that both of them, of course, have done some great things in boxing. But to pretty much just rip off the Band-Aid, if you've seen overall my recent video about Gervonta Tank Davis, at least alone, in my personal view, you already know pretty much what my opinion is about him. And of course, a lot of people, or a certain amount of people, thought that it was a little bit controversial. The truth is about Gervonta Tank Davis, in my view, is that I think that he has, really good potential to possibly even become the number one pound for pound fighter of the sport later on. I think that he's a tremendous talent. Of course, he has the athleticism. He has excellent power, decent speed. I think that he can be excellent defensively, at least when he's at his best. I think that he's a very great fighter. I think that he has great potential. But Anthony Davis also at one point in time was looked at as the best center in the league for NBA basketball, pretty much just purely off of his potential. Now, boxing, of course, usually ends up as a little bit different. But when it comes down to it, my point being about Gervonta Tank Davis is this. He might be the fighter that, in my view, has the highest potential but the littlest amount of results out there. So when you talk about his pound for pound rankings, when you talk about his quote unquote accomplishments that people really try to boost up, Gervonta Tank Davis, and I stated this in my last video about him, that he's probably the most overrated fighter in all of boxing right now. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, and they're going to say, oh, how could you say that? How could you say that, Gervonta, don't you think that he beats those people? Don't you think that he beats Devin Haney and Shakur and all these other guys? And I think that there's a very high likelihood that he could potentially beat those fighters. He's a tremendous talent. But there's only so much that I can give you off of the talent. After a while, we need to see personal results. And I noticed that with a lot of these people, with a lot of these channels, whenever it comes to certain fighters like Lomachenko at one point in time being ranked as the number one pound per pound or top five pound per pound. Remember when Lomachenko was like 9-1 and people were pushing him as a top five pound per pound fighter because he was looking so dominant and so particularly skilled, and these guys said, oh, they're pushing him because he's a great white hype. He doesn't deserve to be in the top five pound per pound. Who has he fought? Right, but then with Gervonta Tank Davis, after fighting guys like Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Rolly Romero and Mario Barrios, I'm supposed to believe that this dude is top five pound per pound? Like, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Now, Ryan Garcia said something overall very interesting. He stated in the most recent interview that he believes that Gervonta Tank Davis is the more skilled boxer out of the two. Do I necessarily agree with that? I think that both at their best, that I do think that there is certain things that Gervonta Tank Davis can do that maybe Devin Haney can't do. But there's only certain things that I can really give Gervonta Tank Davis credit for, and I don't really know how much more skilled he might be than that of Devin Haney, because it's no offense against him. But who the hell has he ever really been in the ring with? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't count Rolly Romero as an A-grade level fighter. To be honest with you, I really don't even count him as a B-grade level fighter. He's like Pitbull Cruz in my view. He's a tough little guy, but he's a very one-dimensional, come-forward Mexican fighter who pretty much just spams hooks and leads with hooks and doesn't really do nothing else. In my view, he doesn't really have much in the way of special effects. It is what it is. He's a tough little fighter, but he's not in the elite caliber. Mario Barrios, in my view, was never an A-grade level fighter. So what does that really leave us with? That leaves us with a Gamboa who had been washed up pretty much for a decade. That leaves us with Leo Santa Cruz, who you could debate was an A-grade win. I don't really mind that one if you want to say that that was an A-grade win. But Leo Santa Cruz also was not really a creme de la creme fighter. He's a guy that First of all, it was probably a little bit light in the ass for that of Gervonta Tank Davis. And on top of that, just really didn't have the quality to really be within the top 10 pound per pound in my personal view. It just is what it is. And then of course that leaves us with Ryan Garcia, who's an A grade, level talent maybe, but a guy who's also very flawed. Very flawed. And on top of that, never been a champion. So it is what it is. So we can say whatever we want to about both fighters. Like I see a lot of people, whether it be Gervonta Tank Davis fans or just fans in general, always trying to trash Devin Haney, stating overall that, he doesn't have the skills and that he can't crack an egg and all sort of stuff. Say whatever you want to about Devin Haney, but the thing is about Devin Haney is that he's pretty much been willing to take on all comers. At the end of the day, he got in the ring with Vasily Lomachenko. That was a fight that Gervonta Tank Davis could have took years ago, but he refused to. Every time Lomachenko's name was brought up against him or to him, he pretty much shook, was shaking in his boots. It just is what it is. Gervonta Tank Davis, even though I think he's an exceptional talent, what big fights has he ever really been trying to make as of recent? He hasn't been trying to make any of them. When have we heard Gervonta Tank Davis' team try to send out a contract to Teofimo Lopez or Shakur Stevenson or Devin Haney or any of these guys? We haven't heard it. Now, if you want to state once again that Gervonta's trying to make the fights bigger, you can state that if you want to, but at the end of the day, it's like, dude, you're going to have to eventually fight one of these elite guys. Like, once again, there's not one big confirmed A-grade fighter on his resume. There's just not. It is what it is. There's no Devin Haney's, there's no Josh Taylor's, there's no Regis Prograves, there's no Teofimo Lopez's, there's no Vasily Lomachenko's, there's not even a George Kambosos on his resume, to be quite honest with you. And I'm not stating that, maybe some of those fighters are, more talented than Ryan Garcia, for example, at his best, but Ryan Garcia also is a very decently flawed fighter and pretty much a natural 140-pounder. I mean, at least George Kambosos, at least he ended up winning against Teofimo Lopez and became somewhat the undisputed champion of the world. So Devin Haney has some decent wins in his career. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't have quite that resume. And people can accept that, they cannot accept that, but that's the cold, hard truth of the matter. It is what it is. All right? So it's whatever. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's see what Mr. Boxing Ego has to say, because Boxing Ego, he's going to bring up some very interesting points here. And we all know that he's a very big Gervonta Tank Davis fan, so let's see what he has to say.
Just a lot of things. I feel like I could catch him. I think people overrate his boxing ability, in my opinion.
You think Tank's a better boxer? Forget power.
Yeah, I think he's a better boxer. Like, strategic mind.
I would say that the best version of Gervonta Tank Davis that I've seen versus the best version of Devin Haney that I've seen, I would agree more than likely that Gervonta Tank Davis, in my view, probably would be the better all-around boxer. But once again, I need to see you in the ring with somebody. Once again, that, I call this a lot of the times, like, once again, I have a quote overall that I love to use, pretty much quoted by myself, where, talent overall, you can't just rely on that, because a lot of people will take a look and see what someone can do, and they just basically look at what they can do, that they don't actually look at what they did. And basically what I mean by that is that you have to take a look after a while at accomplishments and what that person actually was able to achieve. Because if we just completely go off of the talent side, they could end up being another Anthony Davis or another Aaron Rodgers for their particular sport, where many people said for the longest time that, oh, watch out for Anthony Davis, he's the best player in the league. But then it turned out that really he only made the playoffs twice without that of LeBron James, and he only ever made it out of the first round once. So his playoff tenure was really pathetic. And then when it came to Aaron Rodgers, for the longest time, what were we hearing? Oh, Aaron Rodgers, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. If he had this, if he had that, he'd be just as, accomplished as Brady and all that stuff. Then come to figure out Aaron Rodgers, the truth is about him is that a lot of the times he just comes up short in the playoffs. It is what it is, And of course, we've seen this a lot in boxing as well. We predicted Mike Tyson to beat Evander Holyfield, or a lot of people did. And what happened? He got trashed. It is what it is. All right, what happened against Adrian Broner against Maidana? Broner was a 5-1 favorite. Broner ended up getting his ass whooped. So once again, you always have to get in the ring with those elite level fighters. You can never rank someone as the #1 pound for pound fighter or within the top 5 just based off of talent. There has to be accomplishments and there has to be results. Period. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, Tank is better, right? Would you say that? Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Ryan Garcia just did his media day, and he said some interesting things. We'll leave it at that. He said some very interesting things. He he doesn't seem to really like respect Devin Haney arsenal, or like the fact that Devin on paper is the favorite. Like he
We'll see about that. It's no offense against Ryan Garcia, but a lot of the times that he talks, I can tell when a fighter usually is talking for real and when they're all full of fluff and muff. And it's no offense against Ryan Garcia, but a lot of the talk that he ends up putting out there, in my view, it's a bunch of fluff and muff. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. That's all it is. I'm not believing, just in my personal view, just the energy that I see coming off of Ryan Garcia. I'm not believing this shit about how he believes that he's going to defeat Devin Haney easily and all this other shit. That's, come on, just stop.
just seems like very dismissive. What do I mean?
The king of boxing, for sure.
There's your camera. I'm going to get out of the way. Send your message. You have to Devin and to your fans.
Yo, what's up, Devin? You're a You told me that you were... I wasn't even joking either. At the end of the day, I know damn well you tried to say all that about me, and it all came back to you. You and your daddy, you guys are hypocrites. That don't matter in the ring. I'm going to beat your ass. I guarantee you 420. It's on. You thought I was going to make it to the fight. I bet you hoped that I would have got pulled out. You bet you hoped that it was going to be some type of mental health issue. But guess what? I'm right here. I'm right here, and you're going to see me in about a week and a half. I'm going to knock you the out in front of the world. What's up?
Yeah, to me, all this all this seems like overall, once again, is a bunch of fluff and muff who's pretty much just talking big for his fans and trying to promote the fight. This doesn't seem realistic to me at all, just in my personal view. And Devin Haney probably don't even care about any of those comments. Him and his daddy are still worried about that fucking nappy hair comment. Can't seem to get over it.
Almost like Ryan Garcia doing his best Nate Diaz impression. What's up? What's up? You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. Like,
well, the difference between Ryan Garcia and the Diaz brothers is that when the Diaz brothers actually say something, they mean it. Now, of course, they never win, a lot of overall their big championship level fights. But, when it comes down to the Diaz brothers, who actually come and meet you up. Those guys are about that life, because the Diaz brothers come from a very rough background. They start a little bit too much trouble in my view, but they're actually about that shit. The shit that they talk, that they're coming at you for real. There's no offense against Ryan Garcia, but to me, this just seems very fraudulent.
he like almost like wilding, like he don't even, like he's almost acting like he's not even in the fight. Like he just don't respect nothing. I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight. Make sure you guys follow me.
It'll be an interesting fight if Ryan Garcia actually comes and actually is in decent mental and physical shape. And on top of that, if he actually comes to fight. I'm not really exactly sure what type of fight we're going to get out of Ryan Garcia. I don't even think the best version of Ryan Garcia would beat that of Devin Haney more than likely. Now, he's always dangerous because of the level of power that he has, on both hands. And, of course, he's lengthy and tall as well, just like Devin Haney. But do I believe that he's going to beat Devin Haney? More than likely not. Not unless his defense ends up proving to be a little bit better than what I thought, and he can just completely corral and corner Devin Haney and just beat the hell out of him. But I'm not quite sure if I see that. Ryan Garcia, in my view, just doesn't use his feet well enough. I'm not really quite sure how good he is at cutting off the ring, and you're going to have to do that against Devin Haney. We'll see.
At 52,000.
But I will say this, Devin Haney is going to have to be he's going to have to be defensively responsible in this fight. One criticism I have had of Devin Haney in the past is that sometimes he can get hit a little bit too often, and then pretty much every single one of his fights. The only fight that he was in against an A-grade fighter where I seen him not really get hit that much, or at least not as often as what he probably usually did, was that against Regis Prograis. Because that dude pretty much, stays back and, waits for your counters. And on top of that, he's pretty much has T-Rex arms.
At Boxing Ego 1, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. Help us get to the next level. Shout out to everybody. I got some Cash Apps and Super Chats from my last live stream to now. So appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. So all in all, Devin Haney versus Ryan is going to be an interesting fight because Ryan is sounding very dismissive that Devin can hurt him. Like, he's just sounding like this is not even a possibility. Despite Devin Haney being in shape, despite Devin Haney looking shredded and whatnot. And
well, Ryan Garcia, once again, there's no offense against him, but he can talk all this shit about, how Devin Haney can crack an egg and all that stuff. It's no offense against you, Mr. Ryan Garcia, but if Devin Haney can't crack an egg, your chin overall must be made of a saltine cracker. At the end of the day, Ryan Garcia, and don't get me wrong, I'm not stating that he has the worst chin that I've ever seen, but he also doesn't have the best chin that I've ever seen. He can be knocked down, and his chin oftentimes is way up in the air. Now, I believe that he's improved that a little bit within his past couple of fights, but we'll see what happens.
Devin Haney having the better performance at 140 pounds, Ryan just seems like nonchalant, if you will. That's at least what I took from his media day, if you listen to it. I will do an Ego Weight Watchers video, aka Ill. I'll let you know the shape Ryan was in. So subscribe so you don't miss a thing when it comes to that. But all in all, Ryan said what he said. It's going to be interesting on 420. Now, I started this video with a particular quote, which I gotta bake another one, right? We gotta talk about it. The question was simple. It said basically, is Gervonta Davis a better boxer in your opinion than Devin Haney? Because just to preface it, he was talking about how he's going to catch Devin Haney and he's going to knock out Devin Haney, yada, yada, yada. So the question was like, hey, since you're saying this about Devin Haney and what you're going to do you think he's a better boxer or is Tank a better boxer? And you guys heard the clip at the beginning.
Well, shit, Ryan Garcia better say that Gervonta Tank Davis is a better boxer than that of Devin Haney. Because overall, I mean, shit, Gervonta Tank Davis knocked him out. So, you know, is what it is.
If you didn't, rewind this video, rewind this track, and picture me rolling. He surprisingly said that he believes Gervonta Davis is the better boxer. He said when it comes, and the question, keep in mind, it was Sean Zattel. He said, putting power aside. So the way the question was framed, and Ryan was right there with the media, the question was framed not really just going power for power, because we know Gervonta Davis clearly has more power per capita than Devin Haney. But he said, barring the power, actually, I'll just let y'all listen to it yet again.
There's just a lot of things that I feel like I could catch him with. I think people overrate his boxing ability, in my opinion.
You think Tank's a better boxer? Forget how.
Well, in terms of talking about Devin Haney's boxing ability, what I will say is this. Devin Haney, in my view, doesn't appear to me as a guy that I would rank as A+ in terms of boxing ability, but he's at least on an A grade level, in my view. In terms of boxing ability, I'm not quite sure if I would state that he's on the same level as some of the upper echelon fighters that I've seen, like a Floyd Mayweather or a Pacquiao or, a Canelo, a Usyk or Fury or, other fighters like that, Terrence Crawford. I think that he's about a level below those guys. But to be fair, Devin Haney is getting better within each and every fight. But it's going to be interesting to see Devin Haney once he gets in the ring with a real great level athlete, someone who's great offensively and defensively, and someone who's not naturally smaller than him like what a Lomachenko was. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think he's a better boxer. Strategic mind, I think Tank is better, right? Would you say that? Yeah. There's a lot of people.
He said strategic mind, Tank is a...
I want to see what happens if Devin Haney one day is finally pushed back against a fighter and that fighter actually knows how to cut off the ring and that fighter also can fight a little bit on the inside. I want to see what happens because Devin Haney, in my view, can fight a little bit on the inside. He's not a bad inside fighter, but he's also not the best inside fighter that I've ever seen. He got hit a lot against that of Vasily Lomachenko. A lot in that fight. So we'll see.
Better boxer than Devin Haney. Wow. Now, why is this important? Keep in mind, Boxing Ego don't forget anything. So you had a ton of content creators, YouTube channels, you had people on TikTok, you had people on X, formerly known as Twitter. And when Ryan previously, this was before he fought Gervonta Davis, there are clips of Gervonta Davis. It was, I believe, the press conference for Ryan Garcia, maybe even the LA. But needless to say, there's these clips of Ryan Garcia where he had said pretty much the opposite. He had listed, he hadn't fought Tank yet. Just bear that in mind. So before he actually fought Gervonta Davis, right? It was, I really want to say it was at the press conference before the fight, right? He was asked by the media, like in a media scrum situation, who is the hardest fight out of this young batch of contemporaries, and the names included Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis. So let me speed this story up.
Well, I believe what Ryan Garcia stated was that the toughest fight for him was allegedly going to be that of Devin Haney. For whatever reason, I believe that that's what he stated.
Ryan, at that time, before fighting Tank Davis, he stated that Devin Haney would be the hardest fight. That's what he stated. He said that Devin Haney would be a harder fight than Gervonta Davis. Now, again, you had content creators who advertised that statement. Now, fast forward to the future, Ryan has completely contradicted himself, and he's now saying that he believes the better boxer is Gervonta Davis. Like, not even just including power, and that's how the question was framed. And let's see if the same content creators make updated posts and videos and put updated thoughts out with this new statement. So what you're seeing is a true to life agenda. When Ryan Garcia...
Well, you would know everything about true to life agendas, Mr. Boxing Ego. There's no offense against you. I think that you have a decent channel, but at the end of the day, you have your agendas as well. That's why you baby Gervonta Tank Davis and put kid gloves on him and don't criticize him whatsoever by trying not to make any big fights. Once again, all these other fighters get criticism from Ego and some of these other channels. Canelo gets it. Fury gets it. Even Crawford a little bit gets it overall, from Boxing Ego. Gervonta Tank Davis never gets any criticism from Boxing Ego. Never.
says something that makes Devin Haney look favorable, the Haneyacks will report on it, right? Like, oh, Ryan said Haney's the toughest fight. Now that and this is not the first time he said it, where he changed it and said Gervonta is a better fighter and stuff like that. But this is the most recent because he just did the media day. Now that Ryan has seemingly had a change of heart, and now he's saying that Gervonta Davis is the better boxer, not the better.
Boxing Ego overall, Boxing Ego overall stated something about the Haneyacks. Well, the Gervonta Tank Davis cult is pretty much overall just as bad, if not even worse. I mean, we should start calling them the Jehovah's Witnesses because at the end of the day, the Gervonta Tank Davis cult, they're literally defending to the ends of the earth of why he's not making any big fights.
Power puncher or the heavier hitter. He's saying he's the better boxer. All of a sudden, I'm the only one making the video. All of a sudden, everybody else is slow to react. So how come in the world of boxing, you guys say that you like channels that are not biased, right? And like I always say, everybody wants to be objective until it's time to be objective.
I agree with that, but let's not pretend like you're objective, Mr. Boxing Eagle. There's a reason why you're criticizing Canelo Alvarez for not trying to get that David Benavidez fight, at least as plainly as what he tried other fights, but you're not criticizing Gervonta Tank Davis for not wanting to fight Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson. All right, there's a reason for that. There's a reason overall, once again, why you claim that in a way getting it was an embarrassment, fighter of the year, that it was a robbery, all sort of stuff, and that it was racially motivated. And who knows, it could have been, but either way, in a way, would have been very worthy of that candidacy. It is what it is, and then you claim that Crawford deserved it. There's also other reasons why Wilder at one point in time got all this, acclaim from you, even though he had never fought anybody, and then Tyson Fury, well, he doesn't. So it is what it is. Boxing Ego, I like Ego. I think overall, once again, that he brings a certain amount of good points to the channel. Into boxing, but there's also a lot of stuff that he brings where you can tell that he's just full of shit. It is what it is. Once again, I like Ego. He's not the worst channel that I've seen out there, but like I said, he's kind of a double-edged sword.
Me, I have no shame in my game. If Ryan says something good about Tank, something bad about Tank, I've reported about it. But I noticed that's not the same when it comes to certain fighters.
Right, but let's also be real, Mr. Boxing Ego. Once again, you treat Gervonta Tank Davis with kid gloves. Because there's all this criticism when it comes to other fighters like Canelo Alvarez. Why is Canelo bringing up Gennady Golovkin or Jamal Charlo or Jaime Munguia up a weight class? Why is there a rehydration clause? Was there any criticisms for Gervonta Tank Davis for putting a rehydration clause on Ryan Garcia or fighting at a catchweight? Was there any criticism for Gervonta Tank Davis fighting that of Hector Garcia and not fighting him at the 130-pound weight class but bringing him up to 135, I believe? I believe that that's what happened anyway. I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. If I'm mistaken, then someone correct me. But I'm pretty sure that's what ended up happening. Because Hector Garcia didn't lose his title, I believe, until recently. So it is what it is, you know. And then, of course, you know, there's other things that happen as well. You know, like Canelo Alvarez, apparently he's fighting these European stiffs or these guys that, you know, aren't A grade, and no one wants to see these fights, even though that at one point in time they were looked at as some of the biggest threats around those weight classes to even some of the best, like Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. You know, but apparently those guys are bums. But Gervonta Tank Davis is fighting Isaac Pitbull Cruz, Rolly Romero, Mario Barrios, people who before Gervonta Tank Davis, you know, before overall those fights happened, they were never even champions. And they only ever really were champions, to be honest with you, because, you know, of vacant titles. It is what it is. People can like it, they can not like it, it's whatever. You know, but once again, you know, how come there's no criticism for Gervonta Tank Davis there? So Ego can claim all this bullshit about, oh, you know, all these biased channels. Ego is one of the most biased channels out there. You know, now there's a certain amount of objectivity to his channel as well. There's certain points that he brings up that I agree with. But like I said, Ego is, he's also got some biasness as well and some agendas. It is what it is.
Devin Haney being one of them. Some people is I don't know, it's an agenda, but they purposefully leave out certain, like what you would expect. Like I look at things on a spectrum. You can go far over this way on the left side, or
Well, of course, a lot of things in life are on a spectrum.
far over on the right side. If it's on one side, then the content will be covered. If it's on a different side, if they don't like that and what's being said, then the content doesn't get made. Like me, 420. That's all it.
Yeah, that definitely does happen with a lot of channels, and I would also say that it partially includes you, or at least overall that once again that you're not as objective as what you claim to be. Once again, there's a reason why you treat Gervonta Tank Davis with kid gloves. It is what it is. Or why Errol Spence Jr., him getting the Sebastian Fundora fight, you don't mind that happening, you know, overall. But if it was another possible black fighter that you needed to promote, you know, not named Terrence Crawford, you'd be pissed about it. It is what it is.
Is. We'll see if Ryan can live up to what he's saying. But at the moment, he's saying that Gervonta Davis is a better boxer. Now, the other reason this is important, because a lot of people have this misnomer and this misconception that Gervonta Davis is merely a brawler for some reason, or this.
Who is exactly calling Gervonta Tank Davis a brawler? Like, I almost never see any of these comments, but maybe I'm just not looking at the comment section enough of the LDBC or new media. I don't know, because I pretty much only review their videos to make a point. I'm not really going throughout the comment section like that or watching their content that much, only to, you know, do videos. But I mean, like, who is really stating that Gervonta Tank Davis is just this brawler? Like, I hear almost every single one of of the LDBC or new media channels state that, oh, I think, you know, Gervonta Tank Davis's boxing ability is underrated. It's like, who is saying that it's overrated? Gervonta Tank Davis, when you take a look at him, of course, is an extremely talented boxer. But the point is that, once again, I need to see him in the ring with somebody. The dude's been in there with nobodies.
Like power guy, but he's not doing things scientifically, you know? And I've always stated the opposite, right?
I will state this, though. Gervonta Tank Davis in a couple of his most recent fights did not look as impressive as what he could have. Even against Ryan Garcia, I wouldn't state that it was an A-plus performance. You know, I thought that he could have looked a little bit better. You know, he definitely looked like shit against Hector Garcia, you know, and Rolly Romero. But to be fair, like I stated, I thought that Gervonta Tank Davis was going to play with those guys a little bit to try and make those events more exciting than what they probably should have been. If Gervonta Tank Davis really could have, in my view, he probably could have knocked those guys out within 1 or 2 rounds.
Here on my channel, that Gervonta Davis, he's not just some power guy who's a mindless, like, Ruslan Provodnikov type brawler.
I remember that little Russian dude, Ruslan Provodnikov. That motherfucker, let me tell you what, Antonio Margarito, the one thing overall that he actually had in terms of fairness and in terms of actual natural ability, you know, besides getting away with cheating, overall was one hell of a chin. If there's one fighter that I've seen that might be able to compete in terms of the greatest chin of all time, it might be that dude, Ruslan Provodnikov. I don't even ever think that I've seen that dude get knocked down in his career, at least during his prime years. And he fought Timothy Bradley, he fought Lucas Matisse, he fought all those guys. Like, that motherfucker, that dude right there, he just kept trucking. He wasn't the most multi-dimensional fighter ever, but if he got close, he was very powerful, and he was a guy overall that was going to give you hell.
and he just comes to slug you down. He's very scientific. He's very accurate, pinpoint accuracy. He's a sniper.
I remember that Lucas Matisse versus Wilson Provolnikov fight. That was a very interesting fight. That was an interesting brawl when that happened.
But, kudos to Ryan Garcia, because really he doesn't owe anything to Devin or Gervonta Davis to say anything positive. And he said plenty of negative things about.
Well, the question is why is Ryan Garcia necessarily stating it now? Could he just be authentic? He could be. Could it also be, once again, to try to get inside Devin Haney's head? Or could it be overall, once again, to try to hype up the fight a little bit more? It could be. The question is, why is Ryan Garcia all of a sudden switching when in the past he stated that he believes that Devin Haney is going to be, a harder fight? Or maybe he believes that Devin Haney would be a harder fight for himself, but he still believes that Gervonta's the better boxer. Maybe his opinion changed after he lost to Gervonta. I don't know. I'll assume that Ryan Garcia is maybe being authentic, but you never know because this dude as of late has been all over the place. But just in my personal view, barring what Ryan Garcia states, I do believe that at their best, Gervonta probably is the better boxer. But once again, that's yet to be seen because I need to see him in the ring with somebody.
Oh, Gervonta Davis, hey, fight me at 140. I was drained. I'll knock you out. But that's another point that I want to rebuttal with this newfound information of Ryan Garcia now suggesting that Tank Davis is a better boxer in his opinion than Devin Haney. The other reason that's interesting because Ryan has this in his core base have this built-in excuse that Ryan lost and had to surrender and kneel to the body shot because Ryan was first they said it was a broken ribs or something he entered the fight with, and then now they're saying he's.
I don't really fall for any of the excuses overall that once again fighters bring up, unless they have a clear injury mid-fight, like when Gary Russell Jr., like when he fought that Mark Magsayo guy, I believe that one Filipino dude, and he clearly couldn't use his arm. Or Lomachenko after the shoulder tear in the Jose Pedraza fight, you could clearly tell that he was having a problem, using his right shoulder or his right hand. Or whichever shoulder he tore, I believe. Like certain things like that happen. But, when people bring up this bullshit, like when Wilder was like, the suit was too heavy, all sort of bullshit, and that's another thing. Remember when all that shit came out? Boxing Ego never criticized Deontay Wilder super harshly for that. Isn't that very particularly interesting? But all this bullshit on Tyson Fury about the glove gate, shit that was never true in the first place. Ego was fully on it. So Ego, once again, he'll try to tell you this shit about, how unbiased he is. No, he's not.
Weight drain, and some people are saying a combination. But ask yourself this. If all these things were the real reason why he lost, right? Like, so the Mongolian boxer hurt his ribs or, he was weight drained, then why is Ryan now giving Tank credit for being a better boxer than Devin Haney, who we know to be a very good pure boxer, right? So it's like in this one video,
you could ask that, and I don't necessarily disagree at that point. That's not the worst point in the world. But one also could state maybe is Ryan Garcia trying to get in his head? Could it be because the fight is right now? Could it also be overall, because Ryan Garcia recently is mentally unstable and he's all over the place and we can't necessarily trust what he states. It could be any of those, Now, I'm not stating once again that we shouldn't take in consideration what Ryan Garcia is stating. And I personally believe as well that Gervonta Tank Davis is, probably the better boxer. But it's just interesting that Ego's not asking any of these questions as well.
Able to destroy multiple things and talking points and put it all to bed. And I love videos like this because it just makes my job easy. Again, the first talking point, let's recap, was how come when something is said positive about Devin Haney, the Haneyacks have zero problems reporting that? When Ryan Garcia initially said that he believes Devin Haney is the hardest fight, harder than Gervonta Davis, it gets heavily reported. When ticket sales...
Right, Mr. Boxing Ego, but you're very similar. It just is what it is. Once again, how come Canelo Alvarez gets heavy criticism once again for not fighting David Benavidez or, allegedly avoiding that of other fights? But then Gervonta Tank Davis, he's not literally fighting anybody, and he gets no criticism from you. And you just say, oh, why you pocket watching all these haters, all sort of stuff. So Ego, once again, he can feed you this spoonful of bullshit, when it comes down to it about overall, oh, we need to be, more objective. Boxing Ego is not objective. He's a fanboy. It is what it is. And the fighters that he loves are the main PBC black fighters, Errol Spence, Gervonta Tank Davis, Deontay Wilder, is what it is.
Don't look to be great, right? When Ryan now has contradicted himself and he's stating that he believes Gervonta Davis has more of a strategic mind and he's a better boxer, how come people are so slow to react? Point number 2 is if Ryan lost to Tank because of all of the various reasons that have now been thrown out, then why is he giving him credit as a boxer and even asking his dad? And his dad agreed. You heard the clip at least twice in this video, agreeing that Gervonta Davis is the best.
Well, you could ask that, but Ryan Garcia might also be doing that, because if you were to ask him, he might state overall that, yes, I was injured against Gervonta Tank Davis. Do I believe that? No. But he might be stating that once again just to try to get in the head of Devin Haney. It could just be that because they're fighting. It could be overall once again because he's just going off the rails. But I understand Ego's point. It's not the worst point in the world.
They're boxers. So him and his dad are now in agreement that Gervonta Davis is tough and he's that dude. So I love it. When I say these things, people say, oh, you're glazing Gervonta. Oh, you're Gervonta's.
Well, you do glaze Gervonta Tank Davis, Mr. Boxing Ego. It is what it is. And I love Gervonta Tank Davis. He's an excellent fighter. But I need to see him get in the ring with somebody. like these guys with these fighters, no offense, but these guys are pretty much bums of the month. It is what it is. Or certainly not A-grade level fighters.
Oh, Gervonta this. And now you have the fighter who actually fought him, who is paying the ultimate homage. And ultimately, you will be judged by your peers. Your peers are going to judge you. And
your peers definitely are going to judge you, but you also have to be careful sometimes because certain peers can have agendas. So the question is right now is Ryan Garcia speaking overall from a truthful point, at least from his perspective, or does he have an agenda to this? We don't know.
That's what's happening. He's been in the ring with Devin Haney 6 times as an amateur. I get it, not as a pro. That happens on 420. But he did step in the ring just one fight ago with Gervonta Davis. And now after that encounter, he's saying Gervonta Davis is a better boxer than Devin Haney. So report about that.
But anyways, that's pretty much about it for the video today. I just thought that was very particularly interesting. There'll be more videos probably tomorrow or later on tonight. We'll see what happens. But anyways, that's pretty much about it. I just thought that was very particularly interesting. But this Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney fight, it could be interesting. I just believe that Devin Haney, that he's going to be too good, too quick, too maneuverable, and too focused. But we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's pretty much going to be about it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to y'all later, and we'll see where this goes.